Good morning, everybody. Good morning and welcome for the second day of the annual TIEMS conference. And I'm happy to welcome all our speakers and chairmen as well, and all our attendees. I will give immediately the floor to our chairman, today's chairman, Roman Tandlich from South Africa. And please, Roman, the floor is yours, and Stéphane, your co-chair, which is a French guy.
Thank you, Jean-Paul. Welcome, everybody, and especially welcome to our panelists. The way that the current pandemic is reshaping the reality of humans everywhere is not unprecedented, but it doesn't happen often. And over the last 50 years or so, 40, 50 years, there has been a major shift in trying to gain more understanding about disasters per se. And we have been trying to shift more towards preparedness and mitigation, but that doesn't take away from the fundamental importance of response and recovery phases of the disaster or emergency management cycle. Today, we will have a session that will deal with the response phase of the disaster management cycle. And we will go back to not the basics, but trying to provide speakers with various backgrounds from different parts of the world with the ability to share their experiences, their know-how, and their expertise with us about what are the challenges and current trends in response phase of disaster management. I would like to also take this opportunity to thank Stéphane for putting together an introductory set of 2 slides, which I'm just gonna now try to share with you. Can everyone see my screen? Okay, so let me just bring this up. So Stéphane put this together, for which I'm very grateful. But as you can see, response is a series of actions that we take directly before, during, and immediately after a disaster has struck. We're trying to reduce health impacts such as morbidities and mortalities. We're trying to ensure public safety and maintenance of basic needs of people and the functioning of society at the most fundamental level so that the social order does not break down. At the same time, effective, timely, and efficient response relies on disaster risk-informed preparedness. So the phases of the disaster management cycle do actually link up, as you all know. And this includes development of response capacities, individuals, communities, and organization. Institutional elements and response include the provision of emergency services, public assistance, and the working together of various types of stakeholders, public, private sector, non-governmental, volunteer organizations, and so on. Emergency services are the critical asset and set of specialized agencies that are among the first responders on the ground. And many of the topics that you would have seen on the program today will try to address this particular element of response. Now, to wrap up before I hand over, this is a map of the earthquakes that took place in 2019 around the world. Many of you are familiar with what this depicts. You can see that there is earthquakes around the Ring of Fire, but what it does show is that the reach of places where response will have to be carried out is pretty much global. And the speakers that we have with us today do represent a global spread of expertise. Okay, so without further ado, I will try to introduce the speakers as we go along. Our first speaker is Peter Gojharaj. Did I get that right? I apologize for mispronouncing the last name. The first two presentations in today's session will deal with INSARAG that you all are familiar with, and we will talk a little bit more. We will provide floor to people that deal with the ultimate first responders and training, certifying them, and so on. So without further ado, I will hand over to Peter. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Roman. Well, hello, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, dear friends and colleagues. My name is Peter Gojara. I'm the German INSARAG operational focal point, and I'm also a member of the INSARAG training working group. Actually, to hold a keynote here is quite important because we have something ongoing in INSARAG, which is changing completely our view. In the past, INSARAG was more or less famous, well known for the TIEMS, the international teams flying to rescue people from the debris after earthquakes. That was the beginning of INSARAG due to the very fatal quakes we all remember from 1985 Mexico and 1988 in Armenia. Actually, now we do have a paradigm shift. The point is, INSARAG from the very beginning was talking about capacity building. It was always the main task to build capacity and, of course, local capacity. And that is something that is now hopefully spreading more and more over the world. I will just say some keywords like the national accreditation process, the first responder training, and of course the INSARAG recognized national accreditation process. All these elements are more or less sort of preparation and prevention. They are not crisis response in the way many people understand crisis response, but actually it is so essential because when we look back to the first ever humanitarian summit that happened in Istanbul, there was a result everybody was waiting for. And that was the slogan that is used now by United Nations: as local as possible, as international as necessary. And here simply we come to the point where INSARAG becomes important again. Because if we strengthen the local resilience by doing first responder trainings, not for the first responders only in the classic meaning like firefighters, policemen and so on, but also the real first responders, the neighbors. And these are the elements that in the future will help us to rescue more lives than ever. And if we go back a little bit into history, and I'm quite happy that we have some Chinese colleagues who will go on and explain in more detail. It's just 10 years ago when THW Germany started to implement the first responder training in China, in the Sichuan province. And the government of China took it over and said, well, okay, this is something we can really use. And they did a lot of trainings to train the people. But in the world, there was a long, long time nothing happening because somehow first responder training, it is very effective, it is extremely cheap, but it is not sexy, or how to say it. It doesn't sell well. So we had a long time of nothing. And we started 2 years ago and continued, and we did the first responder training for the government of Iraq. So we had already 2 training of trainers. We have a new training due to the pandemic, actually virtual, happening next week. But most important, what we did is, and this is something for strengthening local resilience, we donated a 4-wheel drive truck, and that truck was reconstructed as a mobile training center. So in the northern region of Iraq, this truck can go into the mountain villages, and the trainers who were in the training of trainers, first responder training, they can go and teach and train the local citizens. And that is most effective and will save a lot of lives. The same is with the national accreditation process. I was in the lucky position to be the mentor for the first 2 French teams who were nationally accredited. And it's also very, very important that we do have a common standard, that INSERAG is setting the minimum standard, yeah, that people can work together, that there is some interoperability, that the user coordination will be more effective. So actually there is a lot of things ongoing also in the other regions. We know that there are already talks in the ASEAN region to do first responder trainings. China is featuring also national accreditation process and light teams. So all this is an ongoing process, and we all know that it is something where many people say, while you prepare for those people to be freed from the debris, hundreds, thousands, millions are starving, are refugees. Yes, we all know, but we all know about the very, very disastrous impact of mega earthquake happening in a big city. And we all know that we do have some major cities in the world, like Istanbul, like San Francisco, that will have a quake very soon, and very in 10 years, but at least in a 25 years or 50 years period. And that means even more people will live there, because we have the trend at the moment that people go to the bigger cities and go away from the rural areas. So we have to prepare, we have to continue. And the best way is not to build international user teams. The best way is to work on strengthening local resilience by first responder trainings, by the national accreditation process, by any support we can do. And this is finally, and to finish my keynote speech, this is the point why we all call us the INSERAG family. Because when a government decides to become an INSERAG member, for the first responders, for the urban search and rescue specialists, there are so many opportunities to get knowledge for free from the other countries, to be invited to trainings and things like that. And that is the benefit, yeah, that it is a network where we are informing each other about new approaches, new technologies, and especially where we invite everybody to participate in trainings. And that is something that, for example, the WHO was taking over and saying, well, okay, for the EMTs, we will adopt the INSERAG system and we will work on standardization in that medical part. And it works very well, actually. And we all hope that this is going to continue. Well, actually, still the point is that Germany is not having earthquakes, but still we are a founding member of INSERAG, and we are supporting a lot of countries with mentoring, with first responder trainings, to help to strengthen the resilience, because as local as possible is the most important part. I hope you will have a very successful day today, because actually I have to leave in 10 minutes due to some unforeseen circumstances. And I wish you all a productive conference. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was a very insightful talk, and congratulations on all the work that you do. It is quite encouraging to see that resilience and response are getting interconnected to such a large extent. The proactive nature and the participatory nature of the disaster management strategies that you have talked about is really encouraging going forward. I did send a note to the chat box that if there are any questions, please send them to the Q&A or to the chat box as well, but Q&A is preferred. Okay, we will proceed without any further ado to the second speaker. which is the TIEMS Vice President, Guo Shenku. We all know him quite well. He has been with TIEMS for a really long time. He has a long and distinguished career in working with USAR teams, training them, certifying the competence of teams, and so on. And his talk will provide further insight into the current trends in INSARAG and related activities. Guo Sheng, the floor is yours.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes. Floor is yours.
Oh yeah, okay. Can you see hold the screen?
Yes.
Okay.
You can start.
Yes, I can start. So good afternoon, everybody. And so I just began my presentation. So my topic is about the capacity building of INSARAG recognized national accreditation process in high disaster risk countries. So and just as Peter said, we have a long time cooperation with the THW after the Wenchuan big earthquake in China. So and Peter also has was the expert group leader appointed by the INSARAG Secretariat last year for the heavy USAR team of China to pass the IEC. We have China search and rescue team, the new team. So and we know the concept and the new developments of the first part is concepts and the new developments of ERNAP. ERNAP as means INSARAG recognized the national accreditation process. And also the second process, high disaster risk countries and areas in Belt and Road Initiative, and also the future plan of UN OCHA for ERNAP, and also the ERNAP in China. And also we think China part can contribute for the world. So as we know, by the INSARAG guideline, there is a classification of the international USAR team, national USAR team, and also the first responder. Just mentioned, Mr. Peter said, after Wenchuan earthquake, we have the first training courses held by the THW of German, Mr. Klaus and also Peter with the China part, with our National Earthquake Response Support Service. So we have our first responders training courses in China. So it's a part of the three levels of USAR team. And also up to now, it's about 60 heavy and medium USAR teams in the whole of the world past the IEC or IR. So this map has shown the countries who passed the IEC or IR and got the heavy USAR team or medium USAR team. And also this diagram shows the USAR coordination information management. So we know VCO OSAC, RDC, OSAC, UCC, and SCC. So how to work if the big disaster occurred. So how to coordinate. So that's the main diagram to show us how to work for coordination. And also in 2018, when during the 10 years memorial conference of Wenchuan earthquake in 2018, we have a special workshop for the national accreditation process. So national accreditation process as mainly talks about the national USAR team, national level USAR team. So we have about the international heavy USAR team and also we have now we focus on the national level USA team. So that's the we call the under the INSRAG recognized the national accreditation process. So in the future, maybe in many countries, if the big disaster occurred, and UN OCHA hope each countries have the certification of NAP, and then we can coordinate in the same standard. So now let's see the pictures about the disaster risk hotspots in the world. So we found the draft area and also the global seismic risk map. So we see the red colored area with the maybe with the potential seismic earthquake with the magnitude 7 to 8, maybe more larger than 8. So this with the high risk area and countries. And also the INSRAG recommend the countries to establish a national USA team accreditation mechanism to allow the countries to manage and monitor and establish the same standard offered in the countries. And so this will be adhere closely to the INSRAG standard and guidance in developing as USA national response system. So that's if we establish this standard system in many high risk area, it will be very useful for the coordination for the certain rescue operation if the big disaster occur. So the INSRAG mechanism for the criteria for the volunteer and also for the some countries, and also give some support for the INSRAG methodologies. And so this now there's a recognition process. So the countries must make a request, and then we have a TSG group, technical support group, and a support process, and then verification and feedback, and finally external recognition. So UN OCHA and Secretary of INSRAG will give the finally give the recognition for national level accreditation process, and then this country could have the right to have the certification in the domestic of the country. So from the recent years, there, especially the last year, there's some process criteria and also the process levels. So we can see the roadmap how to finish to make a proposal to the UN OCHA, to the INSRAG Secretariat. So last year, after the our two heavy user team passed the INSRAG certification, and we are focused on the national accreditation process of China. And just in the recent days, in China part, we get permissions, and we hope to connect it with UN OCHA to in the future, maybe we will make a proposal for how to get this recognition. So here is the ERNAP flow chart. So and finally we got the big training courses and exercises. Looks like the same way with the IEC or IER. So IEC means INSRAG external certification. So that's for the heavy, medium, and light user team. So in IEC certification in China, we have passed 3 times, and also in domestic of China, from the 2016, we have a working guideline for IEC in domestic of China. It's similar with the standard of NAP of INSRAG. So and we issued to whole of China. So from 2016, we have two domestic heavy user teams passed the certification. So here, as the ARNAP certification in China, we have a training scenario of earthquake. And then we have a floor IEC of UN Ultra Secretariat, and we have a management, search, rescue, medical, logistic. So the total of the process is very similar with IEC in China. And in the 2016, the first heavy user team of domestic of China got the certification. It's from the Gansu province. So and after 2018, we have a new ministry in China. We call it the Ministry of Emergency Management. As the main focus on the following issues. So the emergency preparedness, capacity building of international heavy user team, and also 7 kinds of international rescue team, and 4 kinds of domestic rescue team, water and mountains, users, and also aviation search and rescue. So it's a new focus on the user team or for the rescue team. And also some important science and technology plan, emergency management, and also for the disaster risk, and also NGOs rescue team, and for the disaster risk monitoring and early warning, and also urban and forest and fire fighting strengthening program, and also others. So in the national accreditation process and the user certification of domestic of China involved in the main plan of the national level plan. And also we focus on the big projects. We have 9 big projects. And also we have a coordination and supervision mechanism of MVM for the preparedness coordination, and also for the how to coordinate during the big disaster occur or huge disaster occur. So and we have the coordination and supervision levels for the mechanism. Normally for the natural, for the earthquake, flooding, and also for the big geological disasters, we have 4-level response. National, the national level response, regional provincial, and regional city or regional response, and the county level response. So that's the 4 levels. So and during the past 20 years, CISA, the China International Search and Rescue Team, have been many rescue operations in the global area. So this shows from 2001, we have more than 20 times the international and domestic of China to have operations for the big disasters. For example, for the Indonesia earthquake and tsunami, and also for the Haiti earthquake, and also for the East Japan earthquake and tsunami, and also for Nepal. So this we have a lot of experience for the international heavy user team, and also maybe in the next several years in China part, we will make capacity buildings for the NAP under the INSARAG recognitions. So and also we think in recent years we have we training for Mongolia, for Nepal, and for the Bangladesh some user teams. So we think for in the future, China part can contribute for the belt and road initiatives. So and for hold of the belt, maybe with the international cooperation, with the teams, with the INSARAG secretariat, and also just my old friends, Peter, maybe we continue to cooperate with THW to have some contributions with international resources for this high seismic seismic belt. So we think for capacity building, for the very high risk area for all of the world, your ultra and also plus teams can make a capacity building and a response and also emergency management. And also we think if we hope to fighting with the COVID-19 with successful, we think WHO and your ultra and also teams and the medical capacity building and response and emergency management will be very useful to have a world scale cooperation for the COVID-19. And we use the, finally, I think teams have very important words. That means it's called thinking globally, acting locally. But here, I think for fighting with the COVID-19, we need plus globally and international cooperation for whole of us will be successful. So that's my talk. Thanks a lot for everybody. Any question?
Thank you, Guosheng. That was very insightful. We will keep questions for after the end of the session. So, and we are keeping time really well. So thank you very much to everybody for that as well. Our next presenter is Li, who is going to talk about the nature disaster international rescue responding mechanism under the UN system. And I hand over the floor to him. He will do an introduction more comprehensively, including his role in the context of the talk. Lily, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Roman. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Oh, great. So I'll try to share my screen. No? Sorry, I'll try again. Please allow me to turn off the camera first. I think the signal today is not stable. I will try again. Is it good now? Is it good now?
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
great.
It's there.
Great. Okay, thank you. Dear Chairman, hosts, professors, and friends, hello everyone, no matter what the time zone you are in now. And it's my honor to have the chance to share my topic with you during the virtual conference. Before I started, I would like to make a brief self-introduction for myself. So my name is Lily. You can call me Lee for short. I work in the same organization as Professor Chu does, the National Earthquake Response Support Service. And my work and research area has two directions. One is the logistics support, and another one is international user coordination. And these two acronyms that Mr. Chu has just mentioned, that's the China International Search and Rescue, China Search and Rescue. And this photo was taken last year during the mission in Mozambique. And if you are interested to connect with me, here are my contacts. And okay, my topic, honestly, it's a very big one. So I just picked a few points to speak on. The contact is related to the UN system, the rescue response mechanism, and its deployment tendency. Well, this was exactly the UN system looks like in my mind 5 years ago when I started learning and try to understand it. There are too many elements for a beginner to find the clue, to find the way out of the maze, especially when you start from a very small area. So my suggestion is we need to organize it first, like this. I believe most of you are familiar with this framework. There are several dimensions. At the global level, we have the ERC, Emergency Relief Coordinator, together with the IISC, Interagencies Standing Committee. Together, they lead the whole system globally. At the national level, we have the HC Humanitarian Coordinator, who plays the key role. With the help from the humanitarian country team, HCT, they support the affected country to assess the impacts of the emergency and help them to make the final decision whether they want to have the UN system or not. At the on-site operations, usually the on-deck, the UN disaster assessment coordination team will be deployed and managed by OCHA. They set up OSOC to support the HC's work and organize and communicate the international relief issues at the early stage. And the clusters, they will continue work as long as the emergency lasts. As an international rescue team, or we call it officially USAR teams, urban search and rescue, we need focus on these area inside of the orange shape. So let's enlarge it a little bit. Well, you'll find another framework. The OSOC here, on-site operation coordination center, it serves as a coordination platform for all the international assistance at the early stage. And these two parts belong to the OSOC system, the UCC, USOC coordination cell, RDC, reception departure center. They are the links among LIMA, the local emergency management authority, with international USOR and OSOC. So the UCC is a special one focused on international USOR coordination, which has several core functions like UCC manager, planning officer, logistics, information management. And recently, I should say from the latest two international rescue mission, there is a new coordination tool ran by international USAR teams called DAC, the Damage Assessment Coordination Center. Basically, it's a group of structure engineers from USAR team. They assess the damaged buildings in terms of the requirement and the regulations from the LIMA. Obviously, if you work in the international USAR team, you should learn and understand how the coordination methodology runs. And my point is that if you know more about the whole picture, the whole system, it benefits you more. That's also what we have learned and experiences from our mission. You can get more resources and get more key information if you know where to go, who to talk with, and how to communicate with them. For example, if the team wants to have a aerial assessment by helicopter, so please tell me which part will you go first to get a helicopter. If you ask me, I will tell you I would check with the logistics cluster first. Okay. About the international rescue responding mechanism, I have 3 points to talk about. Number one is the main components. The INSRAG that Peter has introduced a little bit about the INSRAG. It is leading this area globally now by setting up the methodology guidelines, and it also provides a platform for user experts, member countries, partners to develop the concept, strategies, and also design a training program a lot of things. And of course, international user teams, they are the physical part of the mechanism with full function of management, search, rescue, logistic, and medical. They risk their lives to save the victims trapped in the rubbles. And coordination system, it aims to optimize the using of international user teams, relevant forces, and resources to make sure the operation goes more efficient and more safe. Sorry, and we believe that with the effective coordination on site, more people, more lives could be saved. Number two here are the 5 phases of the international user responding circle. The preparedness phase is the period between the missions. It's a time for the team to build their capacity and train the staff and get ready for the deployment. And mobilization phase to the post-mission is a time for the responding. Usually, the international user team will start tracking the disaster on virtual SOC after OCHA opened the event. And depends on the situation and most importantly, the official request from the affected country. They will decide to deploy the team or stand down. After they arrived at the affected country, they need to register in RDC and get assignment from the UCC, or they need to set up RDC and run RDC and UCC, depends on the timing. And when the operation phase is close to the end, they can choose to start their demobilization plan or extend their mission period to take tasks from the Lima again. That's a concept we call it beyond the rubbles, just like the duck I mentioned previously. And the post mission is the last phase that before the new circle starts again. It's a time for the team to be recovered. Guarantee and support. There are 4 core pillars: OCHA leadership from the INSTRUC and member countries partnerships. They are the foundations. And what I want to highlight here, and also the Professor Chu has mentioned about the INSTRUC external classification. It's a very efficient approach to spread and implement the INSTRUC guidelines. Now we have 35 heavy user teams and 21 medium teams, and they're about the light. It is supposed to have the first international light team in this year, but unfortunately, we know the COVID-19, so all the events are postponed to next year. And the team members are proud of this badge on their uniforms. On the other way, the Lima and the coordination manager will know what type of the teams are coming with their capacities, and it makes the matching between teams and the tasks more reasonable. Okay, the development tendency. According to the requirement and the new situation, the INSTRUC has released the development strategy of the next 5 years. Number 1, quality standards. Strengthen global standards for high quality of national and international user response. Number 2, localization. Enhance frontline response coordination by localizing INSTRUC methodology and the concepts. Number 3, flexible response. Advanced flexible assistance for more comprehensive and adaptable humanitarian response. Number 4, partnerships. Boost and develop partnerships for sustainable participation, ownership, and governance. Okay, based on the main directions, we suggest that there are 3 areas should pay more attention during the implement of the strategies above in the near future. First of all, the capacity building on different levels and standards. I think Mr. Chu, Professor Chu, and Mr. Peter has mentioned a lot, especially he said about a lot of the first responders, which I fully agreed with that. actually, a lot of developed countries have done it well, but still we need to encourage it globally because there's a common understanding in user community. The best solution for every country is to have a stronger national user capacity to handle the challenges. Sorry, there someone is talking.
Vous êtes de quel organisme?
Sorry,
Lily,
okay, I will go on.
you've got
Attention,
1
Lauriane,
minute.
micro ouvert.
I know.
Lauriane, on vous entend.
I know. Thank you. So, the international user assistance is always the last choice. I know.
Vous
Thank
devez
you.
intervenir.
And secondly, set up flexible response modules in consideration of complicated situation in the future. That means a lot of actual works to do, not just talking and design the concept paper. The third one establishes sustainable cooperation and coordination mechanism. Actually, we have very good examples of regional mechanisms like EU Civil Protection and AHA Center. So that's a lot of work to do still beyond the concept paper. Okay, thank you. That's all for my presentation. Thank you very much. I will hand over the platform to Oma again. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lily. That was a very insightful presentation. A lot to take in, and thank you very much. We will now proceed to the next presentation, which is by Gao Na, and it will talk about the experience of the Chinese international search and rescue teams and their management and the reclassification of some of their activities in 2019. Gao Na, the floor is yours.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, you are coming through.
Okay. Hello, good morning, everyone. I'm Gao Na from Beijing, China. I'm very glad to give you a presentation about experience of CISA management in IR heavy reclassification in 2019. Now I give you a short video about CISA exercise in this IR. First is decision making. Now I begin my presentation. CISA has successfully undergone the IEC in November 2009, and the first IR in 2014, and the second IR in 2019. CISA is a China International Search and Rescue Team, and every USA team needs to undergo the IR in 5 years. The purpose of IR or IC is to provide the government of affected country with a database of independently classified insurag, light, medium, and heavy user teams. CISA is a heavy user team. All the user team undergo the IC or IR. They can mobilize rapidly and be self-sufficient, and they can perform life-saving operations professionally and safely. They can coordinate its activities based on the priority established by the Lima and coordinate its effect with other international responders. A heavy user team comprised of 5 components required by the INSARAG guidelines. And the IEC and IR accesses and classified 5 components. These are management component, search, rescue, medical, and logistic. Now I focus on the management component because I'm an information officer in the management component, and I'm familiar with the management process. This is the team structure of CISA, and CISA consists of 18 team members. The top is the component management component. The management component have 12. Sorry. 好了吗？ Sorry. The management component have 12 team members, 1 team leader, 3 deputy team leaders, and 1 planning and safety officers, 2 information and assessment officers, and 3 members are prepared for on-deck UCC and IDC. CISA is composed of 3 different administrative units. So there are 3 deputy team leaders, and which will help to effectively manage all the team members from 3 different units. And it's very reasonable in China. The team leader manages all aspects of team activities, including command, control, operation, assessment, coordination, as well as safety and security. And the 3 deputy team leaders have different responsibility and task. One is responsible for the management work, and the second deputy team leader is responsible for the operation work and accountable for the safety and security of the base of operation and work site. The third deputy team leader is responsible for the medical activities. The manager process can be divided into 4 stages. The first stage is mobilizing, and the second stage to when team arrived at the affected country to the base of operation. The third is search and operation at the BO, and last is departure. When the first stage is mobilizing, we receive the simulation earthquake information. The team leader take part in the deployment meeting and make a decision whether to dispatch CISA to affected country. And all the team members to check in, medical screening, go and get the backpack before leave. I show you some pictures. This is a check-in. team leaders use the wearable bracelet to check in, and this is a medical screen. At last, when the team members gathering at the airport, the information officer will brief team member on the cultural situation, including the culture, safety, emergency evacuation, and health and other issues to other teams. The picture is about briefing team members, and the medical officers will give some advice to the well-being of all the team members and some other people. Then all the team members gathering and mobilizing before the departure. The second stage is when the teams arrive at the affected country. After getting off the plane, some management officers meeting with the Chinese embassy and the airport manager and negotiated about the simplify the customer procedure and setting up and operating RDC under the INSARAG guidelines. CISA is the first team arrived at the affected country. They need to set up and operating RDC. This is a meeting with the airport manager, and this is a setting up RDC. After the management officers arrive at the Lima office, they will meet with Lima, discuss the disaster and rescue situation, look over base of operation, and ask Lima if CISA can using unmanned aerial vehicle to carry out assessment. So this picture is about meeting with Lima. After Lima meeting, the team leader grouped the team's members and assigned a task. Some members serving base of operation, and some members to using unmanned aerial vehicle to carry out assessment, search and rescue tool. We call the simplified ASI tool. The third stage is to deploy search and rescue operation and communicate with the UCC. And this is a cyclical and dynamical process. The team leader adjusts the search and rescue operation according to the requirement of actual task and UCC. The fourth stage is departure. Team leader will preside evacuation meeting to discuss the evacuation matters and communicate with domestic or agency. Finally, the management component hand over with Lima and complete the entire exercise. The picture is sitting team to worksite, UCC meeting. This picture is about the management change layout, and the management change I divided into three parts. One is for working zone, and the other is a communication zone, and the meeting zone. Some maps and tables and latest disaster information and some chat are high on the two sides of the tent, and we high on the tent two intelligent systems. They are team management system at the entrance of the tent, and worksite monitoring system high on the core team. In the follow PPT, I will show you the detail of these two systems. Oh, this picture is about a working zone. This is a communication zone, meeting zone, and some maps, base of operation.
You've got 2 minutes left.
Okay, yes. Team manager system is used in this IR, and it will help manager to see the status of every single team member in real time, and this have a database encoding the task records, training, exercise, evacuation, and records. In the check-in process, all the team members using the wearable bracelet to check in, and this is very convenient. In the work site, the search and rescue team leaders original rescue plan and upload the plan to the team management system so that the managers can see the rescue situation and the actual implementation in real time, and will help to. It's very convenient. The other is a work site monitor system, and this system is first used in this IR. The system have 5 monitoring methods to monitor work site, which are dangerous gas, crack, lean, displacement, and aftershock. Using these 5 monitoring methods, and a variety of pressure hazards can be monitored in real time. If the worksite environment changes, the system will alarm immediately, and the rescue members will evacuate after hearing alarm. Using the monitoring system, manager can see the worksite directly, and which is helpful for the managers to see the worksite rescue progress and do some decision making. At last, in conclusion, China has made great progress in information acquisition and application in new technology in this IR, but there exists some fault. First, some team members are not good at communication in English. So in some meetings, especially the meeting with Lima, team members' communication with Lima according to the script prepared in advance. And this is relatively stiff and not flexible enough. Second, the exercise site of Lima is too open, which leads to the voice of composition too long. The bystanders cannot hear clearly, and the meeting effect is not very good. Third, during the process of base of operations site selection, ASI tool evacuation, team leaders did not combine with the actual rescue mission, and this led to some members have no task. As we all know, in actual rescue mission, all the teams are very busy, and the tasks are full. So this is an unreasonable division of division of task as a defector in this IR. Okay, that's all. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much for your presentation. It was very insightful, and I'm sure we're all going to take really a lot of useful information from there. If we can then proceed with the next talk, which will be by Baijia Zhu, who will continue to talk about USAR teams and the role of simulators in INSARAG-based technology and the USAR team, international USAR team training. Baijia, the floor is yours. You have 15 minutes.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, hello everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Zhou Baijia. I work for NERS, National Earthquake Response Support Service in China. Just now, my colleague shared about the CSA management. Now I introduce exercise simulator. The title of this topic is Development of International USA coordination exercise simulator based on Instagram methodology. These are authors of this paper. These are the outline of this topic, include 5 parts about introduction, method, conducting exercise, results, conclusion. Firstly, I introduce the background and the objective of this research. As we all know, earthquake is a sudden, devastating natural disaster which causes casualty and catastrophic losses to human society and economy. As the tragedy of Wenchuan in 2008 so graphically illustrated, we cannot stop earthquake. We cannot even accurately predict them. We have no choice but simply to be as prepared as we can to respond rapidly to the devastation they provoke. USA team, USA means Urban Search and Rescue. USA team is a rescue organization that supplies with searching and rescuing victims in cities after disaster occurred. If USA operations are well coordinated, more opportunity will be presented for more teams to rescue more. The INSTRUG guideline is recognized by UN General Assembly Resolution 57-150 as a flexible and helpful reference tool for disaster preparedness and response efforts. Disaster training is crucial to the mitigation of casualty associated with disaster. Conducting exercises regularly is also crucial to avoiding a disaster or preventing mass casualties. In order to master the INSTRUG coordination methodology more effectively and efficiently, USA team must be trained properly. Virtual reality simulation is a teaching methodology that has the potential to be a powerful educational tool. One strategy for enhancing the immersive training experience is using virtual reality technology, VR technology, to build virtual reality exercise simulation system. We developed the International USA Coordination Exercise Simulation System by using Unity 3D and 3ds Max. We created the interactive virtual simulator, International USA Coordination Simulation System. The left figure shows the system architecture and the workflow. The system is structured in 5 modules: about a scenario editor, implement module, evaluation module, record module, and simulation platform. Before exercise scheme convert into specific requirements that use as input parameter for scenario editor and evaluation module. Before exercise exercise controller simulate VR disaster environment and mission by scenario editor. Trainee immerse in VR scenario and complete the test by implement module. System save the results of the exercise for playback. The results of the exercise also pass to evaluation module. Observer oversee exercise and score participant performance by evaluation module. Simulation platform supports the full system operation. We created several scenarios for conducting exercise about RDC, UCC, BO, and charging. After earthquake occur, all incoming international resources will need to navigate the key processes. A CIQ. CIQ means customs, immigration, quarantine. We built the three-dimensional internal airport environment scene. The international team can change the CIQ exercise. RDC means register and the departure center. We can change RDC in establishment exercise. The picture shows the RDC establishment scenario. The participants can immerse in virtual reality airport and select the location of the RDC and drag the 3D model into three-dimensional C and divide the space into three distinct functional work areas, include public display, team-only display, RDC staff-only display. In order to provide an effective use of space and ensure that different levels of information are communicated to the right audience and deliver the briefing using the visual word display and the RDC briefing handout form. BOO the base of operation. We can change the BOO establishment exercise. The participants can walk around in three-dimensional digital setting to identify potential BOO location. Classification and management of 3D model or equipment are implemented. Generally speaking, a standard BOO includes 11 functional areas. The participants can drag 3D model from library into virtual environment and adjust the position in order to establish BOO. The trainee, so in trainee can focus in planning layout of the BOO. UCC establishment, the picture shows the UCC establishment scenario. UCC means USA Team Coordination Center. The participants can be trained how to select the location for UCC and become proficient in the use of standardized information displaying form and delivering briefing to ensure effective coordination. The trainee can drag the 3D model into three-dimensional C and divide the space into three distinct functional work areas, include public area, working area, UCC staff area, in order to provide effective use of space and ensure different levels of information are communicated to the right audience. USA team can be trained UCC delivery briefing to USA team member. The last one is a worksite charge scenario. The simulator provides a three-dimensional digital double setting, a fictitious large-scale management setting. The detail of every building or every block might be observed by work. The participants use a worksite charge form to gather the essential information at this stage. The participants can experience the planning process about ASR level in game-like interactive operation. ASR means assessment, search and rescue. Now, it's the first part is results. Through the exercise, simulation exercise, participants immerse themselves in exercises and imagined what an actual scene might be like. Participants can understand the exercise scenarios better and made better decisions through disaster information. Through electronic map plotting, participants presented the dynamic decision process. Zoom in and out of electronic maps in detail, recording in database and exporting pictures for future discussion. Virtual simulation may be a low resource solution to teach principal or worksite charge. Last one but not least is the conclusion. I think the simulation exercise is one of the most effective and efficiency exercising. The simulator made the evaluation and organization of exercising easy and convenient. It improved participants' disaster response and coordination capacity, enhance participant understanding on the instruction methodology. Exercise results were recorded in database for further review. We will progress our system functionality to include training more capability of USA coordination, which has been at the forefront of concern about international USA mission. We are looking forward to cooperation with experts around the world to further develop a scenario in search and rescue domain. They are reference. Thank you for your listening. If you have question, you can send an email to me. Looking forward to your valuable opinion, and welcome to our training base in the future. Thank you, everyone. Bye. That's all.
Okay, thank you very much for your presentation, Beijia. We've got a question on the chat, and the question is, the simulated software is good for training. Is it an open source software?
Okay.
The question is from Bruce Wong.
Beijia, could you please answer the question for us?
Yeah. Can you repeat it?
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry.
Your software is very good for training.
Yeah.
Is it an open source software? Is it open?
Yeah. We developed the software.
Is it an open source on internet, or can you share this software with the USAR community or INSARAG community? Is it possible?
Yeah, now it's for our CISA team in our training base.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay. Thank you very much. We will proceed to the last presentation in our session, which is from Jaroslav Pejcoch from the Czech Republic. Jaroslav is a secretary of TIEMS. He's a board member and has been with the organization for a long time. He's a security and crisis management analyst, and he will talk to us about the review of organizational preparedness to unpredictable situation. Jaroslav, your 15 minutes starts now and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I would like to tell that this was amazing presentation, this about the simulation, and all of them which were before about the worldwide approach to build such a big system interlinked to the whole world. I will now step down to the ground, and as I'm coming from the small country, I will talk about, and not only small one, but also the country which is. So do you see my presentation or not? I'm not sure if you see my PowerPoint. Do you?
I can see your background on the screen, so maybe try to, yes, we can
Okay.
see it.
Okay, fine. I'm coming from the small country, which we have, it's pretty safe here. We have no disasters, we have no earthquakes, no tsunamis, etc. But the current COVID situation brought us to the middle of the theater. And I would like to share with you just a case study about one case of how we collaborated with the very important institution in our country to solve the unpredictable situation, which is maybe you know, this annotation you will find in the presentation. Maybe you know that we have been working as a company for years for stress testing of organization. That means to plan the scenarios for exercising at the management level to ensure the business continuity. And what the situation this year was, we were in talks with Czech Radio, which is a national broadcaster, and the situation was completely unknown, a new one, and nobody knew what to do with it. And as the Czech Radio is mission critical service to the country, and you may see the parameters of this institution. This is large national broadcasters, very old institution with history. It's public. It's 1,500 employees. It is distributed throughout the country with 14 regional studios, 23 program streams, 2 program division, and about $1 million US budget per year. So it's very important. And we as a TSOF, small company, software and consulting, working in crisis management and security. And we, in the past, our biggest project was to simulate the blackout for the 1 million city of Prague for several days. And I was talking about that in some previous TIEMS conferences in Japan, so you may find it there. But it was a sort of structured project. So what we do with it, obviously, is the plan scenarios. The team which we had this spring was in the team where the Mr. Zavoral, which was the general director of Czech Radio, and Mr. Pokorny, who was the chief of the main division there, and 3 people from our company. And we tried to think, to look to the probable stress test in a different way based on the current situation. The playground, you see that there was completely new situation. There was needed a fast action, but nobody knew which one. There was lack of information and guidelines. Nobody knew about what was it. Nobody could analyze it. There was many misunderstandings. And on the other hand, on the other side, there were extreme responsibility of the Czech Radio for the broadcasting international program to solid information. And also it was extreme visibility. If something would happen to the Czech Radio, it would be very bad. So the normal fostering of business continuity through stress tests is to carefully plan some scenarios. That is it has some phases. So when we planned, for example, this blackout, that was 6 months careful preparation of the scenarios and etc. There was 1 day execution of this the tabletop exercise, then 1 month evaluation, and then follow-up for years, because it was really a lot of data out of this exercise. But now we were in completely different situation. It was as a splash which came suddenly with a big mass. And in talking with the management of Czech Radio, we saw that the situation is completely different, and we need to modify this timing, especially like this. So the preparation cannot take more than a few days. We have to exercise it in the meeting of the management of the Czech Radio, and very fast evaluate it, and to have some fast follow-up. So the standard preparation phase, which is going with the exercise, is mainly scenario preparation, information collection, etc. And this case, it was the half year. In this case, it's rather the fast situation assessment, and immediate action. So this is what the situation we were in. And what's more, you may remember from Apollo mission that failure is not an option. There was not space for any failure to some decision which would lead to blocking or to seizing the operation of the broadcaster. Standard approach to the business continuity is to service all the risks that can and the preventive measures, so the organization works fine even in the disasters and crisis situation. That is a standard approach, and we had to modify this somehow because obviously we have a standard management structure which is hierarchical, and everything works in this case when there is a normal operation. But when we come to the disaster, everything changed. It's a complete mess, and the people, especially in the unknown situation, because for example, here in Prague, we are accustomed to solve floods because they are coming some years by years, but this COVID, this epidemic situation was completely unknown. So it's a completely natural reaction is a mess. But what is showing up in the mess and in emergency is that there is emerging a team. We've seen in the presentation before me, there was a careful care. There was a care taken to the building of standard, very well informed, very well trained teams, which could do the standard their work. The disaster is their work, and they are trained to do that. But here we are looking for the normal management of the Czech broadcaster, which doesn't. We didn't think about such a thing as a virus before. And they also were not able to call any USAR team to help them to solve their own situation because they even didn't know for themselves what does it mean. So it calls for agile management to do a fast survey. This is the base for this presentation, what we did together. It calls for ad hoc analysis and model of the current situation. And again, we cannot use any standard model in this fast time because it's rather based on the intuition and experience and collaboration. But what is very critical is to have some common information, to have a common dashboard, to issue some executive statement to the people. So the general director had to form some executive statement to tell the people what is what they are going to do, what is going to happen, etc., and to establish some common communication platform. The fast survey, we use simple methods as organization-wide questionnaires with electronic forms, some interviews, evaluations, and online discussions. And it was interesting that in comparison to other experience, because we do these tests in many organizations, ministries, and critical infrastructure subjects, etc. So it was interesting that in this organization, there was unusually high number of people who were responding to the questionnaire. And what more, there was normally the question is anonymous. So we are asking people how they see this situation in the organization, what are the problems on place, what they would like to see, and how they understand this and that. And normally, and ask the people that they may put their contact to be asked later for collaboration or some explanation. Normally, when people criticize something, which is most of the responses, they don't use their context. They are shy or afraid to use their context because the messenger of bad news obviously has the bad end. So, but in this organization, most of the people were willing to collaborate. They put their contact, even that they putting in the very critical remarks about the situation of the Czech radio. So we did a common overview of issues, real resources, because you may have some resources in plans or in accounting or in some listings, but your real resources might look completely different. We overview the situation of people, which was very difficult here, because the people have family, they commute, they are distributed, the company works in shifts. And we overviewed also the risks and ideas, what might be better and what might happen next. We also did some simple modeling, especially in the direction of team management, because in this situation, there was necessarily some other kind of management. They naturally, they divided their team to groups which were not allowed to contact each other. They clean out one building and prepare the building for the case if the main building would be hit by epidemic. So they would be able to, with the team which stayed at home and were not allowed to go in and contact other people to be able to continue, etc. And also we try to model the personal logistics. For example, what does it mean to commute for the people to go to the work? Let's say some people which are commuting through, which are going by cars, which is less risky than people which are going by the public transport, because there is a bigger, higher probability to get some virus, etc. So we did some very simple modeling of it, and the result was that it was prepared some dashboard, and there was used standard method of video conferencing and share information. So all of that, it happened within several days. And here we have outcomes, what we got or they got out of it. It definitely built the trust. The trust increased between the management of the organization and the people, both sides. There was minimized a lot of risk, because by the fast survey, they found some simple things that they may just fix, and the risks, the big risks were minimized. Very interesting was that there were discovered champions, very active people, which in normal operation they are quietly doing their job, but in this crisis operation they appeared that they were really very creative persons, very active, and helped a lot to the whole organization. Also, they was collected the opinion, and another outcome was functional improvement. I will explain that. There was during this separation of teams, they found that they would need to operate even from homes or from separated places, but they didn't have proper technology for them. They could do it through mobile phone, etc. But they very fast purchased several or many workplaces, studios, let's say mobile studios. They gave to their people, which were able fully in the full quality continue their work from their home, from their home offices, not touching each other. So at the end and at the conclusion, the Czech radio survived this critical situation without any significant problems in operational performance. They even were so wise that where it seemed that first peak of the epidemic was over, they still kept and maintained to wear masks, etc. And they left the procedures which they set for the epidemic. They left through the whole summer. Even the whole other country was released completely. And so that helped them to survive even this, the second wave, which is coming now, which is in now, without any significant problems. The enhanced information management, which was called by this situation, increased the resiliency of the organization. It is the obvious result of such a stress test. And these updated processes and infrastructure, that the new things, have not only increased the capability to supply quality services for now, but also to compete in the future, because by new technologies, they were brought up to the another level of operation of such a broadcaster. So it was not easy, because the separation of team, they were passing their services on the room, so that you see the messages team by team when they were changing guards in the Czech radio. It was very hard, but I think that the fast assessment of the situation and fast action and agile management helped them to survive that. So that's it. Thank you. Roman?
Yes, thank you very much, Yaroslav. That was a very insightful presentation. A lot of useful information to take away. Thank you very much to all our speakers. This concludes the presentations in our session, and we will now proceed to the question and answer session. We've got 2 questions. One was posed through the chat, and then the other one through the Q&A. I'm going to hand over to Stefan, who is my co-chairperson, and he will take the questions from here. Stefan, floor is yours.
Yes, thank you, Roman. Thank you to all panelists. And this question is mostly to all the panelists, I think. And it's a question from Dr. Kailash Gupta from Indian chapter. So I just read it. I was in Haiti after 2010 earthquake and in Nepal in 2015 earthquake. There were scores of international response team after both earthquake. Overwhere they rescue about single digit, less than 10 persons, or recover human remains. Most of the people were rescued by local people. So the question is it worthwhile to spend so much money and resources on the international rescue team with little outcome? So if somebody wants to answer, perhaps we can ask to our vice president if you want to answer, Guo Shengqu.
Yes. So I saw this questions from Kailash from India. So and as you know, I just showed the pictures about now at the present about 55 heavy user team and media user team past the IEC and IR in total of the world. But when we see the location of these user teams, as most of them developed in the developing country, so developed country. So now we find we know the user teams, the capacity building, we need spend a lot of money, but we compared with the life value, we think it's worth. It's very valued to build up the capacity of user teams. You know, under the INSRAG guideline, there's a principle. When the big disaster occurred, the disaster countries, if they have the heavy user team, or the neighbor countries, if they have a user team, they will be mobilized very quickly because they are not so far from the disaster area or disaster country. So this will be save a lot of life. So and that's told you know the heavy user teams, the whole of the platform established after the big earthquake of Moscow City. Mexico City, and also in 1985, and also in 1988, there's a big earthquake occurred in Yamenia, and also the bigger earthquake occurred in the urban areas. So a huge of the buildings collapsed. So and the local people haven't enough capacity to save life. So that's why in the worldwide, many countries concentrated to the platform of UN OCHA. So and also China part, Chinese government, and also we have two heavy user team plus the IEC. And you know, in the world, China is the most heavy damage the countries from China in whole of the world. So and many big earthquakes occurred in the past centuries. So for the Chinese government, we for save more life as need we have a standard user teams. So now we have two heavy user team plus the IEC. But in the future we have we will establish the national accreditation process. So for fighting the earthquake, which caused a huge of the buildings collapse, and also the user team, not only for the collapsed building, and also for the flooding, for the geological disaster, for the other natural disaster, and also for the explorations. So that's very useful. So we think as for the international user team, the one is to save the life very close to the disaster area. It's very valuable. And also this user team is international standard. And we input this standard into the national level, into domestic of the country. So this will be especially a huge platform for user teams, and we have a same standard. So if the big earthquake occur, so we could very quickly to mobilize the many user teams to save life. So that's we think the international is not only to support the user team, that's also very important to support a standard and a platform. That's my answer. So
okay, thank you very much for your answer. Please, Kailash, if you want to add some comment in the question and answer session, you can add it. Yes, Yaroslav, if you want to take.
Yeah, if I may have opinion about that from completely different side. The system and the elaborated system what Gosheng was presenting against people, it's really fabulous, and I think that the main value of this system is maybe not the operation itself on the place, but the system itself, the know-how, the procedures, the training guidelines, etc. So I think the main help for such a countries as Kailash is needed would be rather by teaching the local people and collaborating with the local people, and when there are available such a elaborated procedure which are in user teams, and when something like that could be shared by the local people. So as I was presenting about the organization inside, and nobody can help organization inside because nobody understands the local specialties. So I think the communication training and exercising together is the key for how to utilize the amount of work which was put to the building of user teams.
Okay, thank you very much.
I want to add some words. Before the Nepal big earthquake occurred, INSRAG Secretariat have organized many training courses, and also some of the experts of USAs from China, and also from USA, from South Africa. We have been Nepal to help the local people to build a capacity for media and light user team for Nepal government. And also we have helped them for the community level or first responders training. So that's the international user is just a high level standard. But for the we have 3 levels of classification of capacity building for the under the INSARAG. So that's very useful. So not only the international heavy user team, but the local and the fundamental organizations have this kinds of training as will be very useful.
Okay, Stephen, may I go?
Just one thing. If it's correct, that's correct. I think Lorian give you the opportunity to speak. So Kailash, you can speak.
Okay. Thank you.
Sorry.
Just Lee. Just after we can go back to Lee. Mr. Kailash, please.
Okay. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to respond. After the Nepal earthquake, Gusing was there and I was also there. He remembers me. And my question is, after Haiti also, the point is, in Haiti and Nepal, there are so many scores of international teams which came to search and rescue. But they saved or recovered dead or alive less than 10 people, while most of the people were rescued. And Min is also there, who was also in Nepal with me. The local people, it is the people there in Haiti and Nepal or around the world. It is the local people who save human lives because they know the topography, they know the geography, they know the people who lives where and all those things. On the contrary, the international teams, they actually blocked the logistics supply chain. So many teams, when they came to Kathmandu, a single airport, which was very difficult, and they take so much resources of the airport, of the hotels, and other places. Same thing happened in Haiti. I was there twice. That my PhD dissertation is based on there, and they blocked. So my question is, what they do, they make a internet. This is not an allegation. Please don't take. I'm a researcher, so my point is to improve. I'm not making any allegation or criticizing in a negative sense. The point is, most of the international teams, they come and they say that, big marketing or branding, that we have done this thing, that thing, we went there around the world and all those things. All those money actually comes from my and your taxpayers' money, international UN organization and others. So why can't that money can be built to local resources, local citizenship? And what he said, like in India, we are doing a lot of improvement at the other countries. So if the output, not the outcome or the impact, output of all those Haiti and the other places, if they could save only 10 people, while the local people save thousands of people, it doesn't make sense to, any economical sense. And also psychological. Local people, if they save, it is a psychological, trauma removal also. Yeah, that's my
thank you very much for your point of view and remind us this terrible disaster in these countries. So I will go back to Lee if you want to make a yes. Lee, it's for you.
And Min has also agreed. Actually, Min has sent in the message. If you can ask him to talk, he has agreed with me. I'll request Min to please allow Min to say something. He is from Nepal and he was there in the earthquake. I was with him.
Okay, Lee.
Min?
No, okay. Lee, okay, come on, Lee, please. You want to speak?
Okay, I'm here. Do you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Okay, in view of the short time, I will not take much time. What Kailash said is very true because the international teams in Nepal were not very effective and efficient during the response phase because of the terrain of Nepal. You see the geography, the remote rural and hilly areas limited their capability to carry out response work very effectively and efficiently. That is why I agree with Kailash that actually the local people did most of the local people and the Nepal Army, Nepal Police, Nepal Armed Police Force, and partially the local volunteers. They did the search and rescue works, and that is very true. And I think it is difficult for the foreign search and rescue teams to carry out search and rescue in a foreign country because of the geographic locations, culture, and other things. So I think this is a very important thing which Kailash raised. I don't mean to say that the foreign teams are not required, are not expected, and should not come for search and rescue. But my point is that we need, any country needs external assistance during big disasters. But there are certainly limitations which is beyond the control of the foreign teams. You see, we cannot avoid. Even it is difficult to work in your own country. So how can you work in a foreign country efficiently? And in a country like Nepal, where the geography is difficult, is of course difficult to respond for foreign search and rescue teams because of the bad roads, and even some parts were inaccessible, and the weather also was not conducive. So there were so many limitations. So the visit of foreign teams is welcome, is appreciable, but their efficiency was limited due to the reasons I mentioned earlier. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. So please, Lee, take the floor now.
Okay, thank you. So, Dr. Kailash, so you're right. At first, you're right about the truth. If we look back to the history of international rescue missions, most of the time, they just rescued only a few person alive from the rubbles, and most of the rescue works are done by the local forces. That's right. And but on the other side, we can think about that the international user teams, technically, they have the highest standard of the capacities. The problem is that you mentioned about logistic issues and also the distance. If we have more efficient coordination or cooperation relationships during the normal time, like we can cut the time of the immigration and customs, a lot of things that make the international teams come quicker than usual, and have more reasonable arrangement for them, not only just block the logistics way, just live in the hotel. No, that's not reasonable. But we can imagine if a big city has a very big earthquake, there's not enough forces, never will be enough. So it is always good to have some extra user teams coming. But back to your point, I agree that, and I mentioned in my presentation that I said we need to focus on different levels of the user capacity building. The international user is always the last choice. And of course, we have regional mechanisms to launch the quick assistance by user teams. That's why we need build more, and we need to cooperation more to know each other, to know the systems and how to help the people in the right way, not just sending hundreds of people with tons of equipment, canines, such as we are not the person, we are not the team to bring the burdens, extra burdens to the affected country. We are there to help the people. So my personal answer is yes and no, half and half. So you are right about the history, but look forward to the future. We need international user teams to lead the highest standards. We need then continue to contribute to the whole humanitarian world, but in a more reasonable way, in a more efficient way, not like the old-fashioned way that you mentioned. We are not there to block the logistics. So sorry if something bad happened, but yeah, the future, we need more. My answer is that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lily, and to emphasize the fact that we need to look to the future. This is very important, I think. Is there some other panelists who want to answer to these questions?
Yeah, may I add some more thing?
Yeah, okay, let's go.
Okay, to be very brief. And actually, the presentations made by Guo Sheng and his colleague from China, of course.
Oh, I think.
Oh, sorry.
What's question?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Yes.
Okay, go back. It's okay.
Okay, do you hear me?
Yes, it's okay.
Okay, in view of the presentation from Guo Sheng and his colleagues, I also agree with them that the capability and the technology and the efficiency they have, the CISA team and UN INSRAG, which Nepal also is participating from time to time, that is required. That is very much useful for us because we learn from them for effective search and rescue. Our army personnel, police personnel, and volunteers, they have learned quite a lot from CISAR and UN INSRAG. So this international collaboration and cooperation is definitely very useful and necessary. But the local community and local volunteers and the local security personnel are much more important in the event of the disaster. Again, because the foreign teams, they have several limitations, as I mentioned earlier, geographic and also from the point of view of security and the language and the culture. These are the limiting factors, you see. So once again, I would like to reinforce, I would like to emphasize on the foreign tools and techniques and advanced technologies are required to carry out search and rescue during the response phase. So I think that is why preparedness and recovery is much more important than response for the external assistance. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Guo Shengxi, any comments?
I'm very glad to hear the mean because during the Nepal earthquake, Kailash, me and me, we are three of us have hold a special workshop during the earthquake disasters. So and we talk a lot in that time. But I think also there are some problems because there's a different levels. So only less 10 of the heavy user team plus the IEC have been Nepal. So most of them just doing the capacity building. And we think in the future, maybe this big platform from the UN OCHA, so will be very helpful for many countries. So for the capacity building of users.
Okay, thank you very much. So Roman, if you want to speak now.
Yes, thank you very much. There was a question from Jean-Paul for Gaona, and it says, in the movie that you showed us, in the departure, we saw a registering ring tool for USAR teams, kind of a watch for responders. Is it possible for you to provide more information? I'm not sure if Gaona is still here or if maybe one of the other panelists from China can maybe elaborate a little bit more.
Yes, I just answered for Ms. Gaona. So when we have a IEC or IR exercises, so we make a scenario earthquake, and so it's about the magnitude of 7.5, and then we make a more scenario, and then to simulate the big earthquake occur. So and we have get more information for decision making, and then step by step to follow the whole process of the IC exercises. That's the question.
Thank you very much. We will then proceed to maybe we are running a little bit out of time. So if there are any further questions, I would refer the participants to maybe establish contacts. The emails for presenters are available in the proceedings that will be published at the end of the conference. I would now just like to give the floor to TIEMS President Harald Draeger.
And maybe I will launch Paul. Please stay with us.
And then Jean-Paul as well.
Yeah, I have followed the discussion, and especially the last thing about the efficiency of the user teams. I think it is also a matter of coordination here, because I think what I learned from Min Chetri on the Nepal user teams was that the different teams were not very willing to be coordinated by someone. And I think the key to a better solution is also coordination, because the transfer of knowledge and the way to exercise, to build up, etc., is very valuable. But maybe more coordination could solve the issue pointed out by Gupta and by Min Chetri. It's been a very interesting session and many good speakers, and I have enjoyed listening. That's I would like to say.
Thank you very much. Jean-Paul?
Jean-Paul.
No, thanks to everybody. I don't want to add many things. That was a very good overview about the standardization and how UN in SARAG standardization help to improve the global response on the planet.
Okay, thank you very much. I would like to also thank Lorian and the technical support for an excellent work that you've done. I'm sure the amount of emails that you had to respond and still continue to respond sometimes might be a little too much, but thank you very much for keeping the fort. Let me close the session by thanking my co-chairperson, Stefan, and also the message that I started the session with, which was that response is not integrated. It might have come across as if though that the response is not integrated with the other phases of disaster management cycle, but we can see now that there is a need that it is, and that many of the INSARAG and related activities that are going on do actually indicate that strong integration takes place throughout all the phases of the disaster management cycle, emergency response, disaster relief, and so on. Thank you very much to all our speakers for your excellent presentations, and thank you very much for all the panelists and attendees for participating. Enjoy the break, and we hope to see you again in one of our other sessions during the conference, which runs until the 4th of December. Thank you very much and enjoy the rest of your day.